Hey everybody, it's Matt Schmidt here, and I want to welcome you to Pi Scaled Week 1 of the Immersion session. Albert, my partner, is here as well. Hello, Albert.
Hello there, Matt. Hello, everybody.
Hey, and we're ready to get started, and we're going to do basically a deep dive into the course. All three of these webinars this week, they're going to power through them. It's like a little mini boot camp. Each one of these webinars are going to be focused on specific segments of the course and making sure that you have 100% understanding, 100% ability to implement the information. And it's basically all about pushing you to the next level and getting you an ROI out of the course. We're going to do our best to do it. Ultimately, though, guys, it is down to you implementing what Albert teaches here. We can't hold your hand there, but we will push you as far as we can go. Does that sound good for everybody? All right, sweet. All right, guys. So week 1. All right, I gave you last week, the course was sold 2 weeks ago. Now, last week, you should have been going through the course. Hopefully, some of you guys have been implementing. Hopefully, all of you have gone through all the videos. And I kind of want to gauge where everybody is at now. So, if you've been through all the videos, let me a 1 in the chat box. If you haven't made all the way through, give me a 2. Okay, I'm seeing more 2s than I would like here. And I guess what I want to do is, and I'm seeing lots of 1s, so congratulations for all the guys that have been through. But for the guys that haven't been all the way through, what is it that's holding you back? Are you making your way through? Are you new to t-shirt selling? What is it that has caused you to not get through all the videos to this point? You've had the course over for a week. It's not that long. We made it that way. We want to make it small and digestible for you. So give me a couple, if you feel about shouting out, yeah, holiday week, okay, that's understandable. Pat, no excuse on the ADD. Pat says ADD, I call BS on that. We all have ADD in this business. You got to get over that. Sorry to hear that, Catherine. That's completely understandable. Yeah, guys, if you have a day job, I just quit my day job not too long ago. I know I've been there and understand that. The day job is going to be there. What you have to do is just find a time, maybe in the morning, maybe at lunch, watch it on your phone, do something at night specifically. Just make the time. The time is never going to present itself to you. You got to make sure that you're finding the time to implement it. You have spent your money, you've put trust in us, so now I want you to go back and implement. Right? I was saying those in the emails. It was like, join, learn, implement. So if you're already in the join stage if you're on this call. So now you need to get into the learning stage and then the implementing stage. You can do learning and implementing side by side. I find it easiest to learn, take a lot of notes, and then walk through my notes as I'm implementing. And a lot of you that are saying that you're new, we're going to walk through some of those initial stages, and you're going to get a lot of value out of this because this is focused on the fundamentals and getting you up and going in the easy part. Not the easy, I shouldn't say, but the fundamental stages are where this will be routine for you very, very shortly. Where it gets more complicated is in the scaling and the targeting and the ad segments that are more dynamic from niche to niche. But we're going to try to tackle some of those roadblocks for you today. We're going to try to go into detail. I've done this a lot of times now. I've had a lot of webinars. I've had a few courses and been involved in some coaching and some masterminds and things like that. So I know the initial roadblocks that are pretty much common throughout all t-shirt sellers. We all hit the same things. You're worried about which niche you're going to go into. You're stuck on a design. You're trying to get your page set up. These are all things that everybody initially hits, and generally it's people overcomplicating it. And we'll try to tackle as much as we can for you that today. And I don't want to belittle anything that's been going on because it is an issue, but we are going to try to show you how easy it is for you to overcome that today. All right. You got other stuff going on. That's great. Wendell, yes, I understand you were busy. That's great, guys. But we want you to make sure that your investment here today, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago is made the best possible. You're going to implement. You're going to get the most out of it that you can. Cool. Does that sound good for everybody? Perfect. Perfect. All right, guys. So, like I said, I hate slides. They distract me, and then I can't ramble like I usually do. So let's hop over to the members area. It should look at least familiar to the most of you guys. And we're going to focus on fundamentals today. And then we're going to get into ads as much as possible, specifically targeting. If you guys know me, I'm an audience insight fanatic. We're going to go over that. And I might have Albert hop into a couple different areas, but I want to go into, and once we get into the targeting, something that we've been trying to do lately that's been working out very, very well, and the mentality behind that. So let's talk about finding ideas. There's so much out there for you to find, and it really starts with the niche, right? I tell people that are just starting off, if you're day one, that you start with something that is personal to you. Where I found my most success, I was having some success, but where I hit like a big one, where I started selling like campaigns that had 10 or 20 or $30,000, where I found that was in the nursing niche. I got into it. For those of you that are afraid of competition, I got into it when everybody thought it was oversaturated. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but people literally said, "Oh, the nursing niche it's too complicated, it's too oversaturated, there's too many people selling it." And I was able to go in there with the design, and sell. We ended up selling 2,500 designs, or 2,300 of those designs, and then more and more over time. I actually just finished the last campaign earlier last month. So it hits over and over and over again because it's a good design in an evergreen niche. Nurses are people coming out of school all the time. There's new nurses all the time, and there's nurses retiring all the time. So you're going to be cycling through a lot of people. It's like we call an evergreen niche. It's not a trend. It's not something that came up, you hit it, and it's gone. Nurses will be here and will always be here, going forward. If anything, it's going to be growing. Important things to know about your niche is the fact that I know that there are 8 million nurses in the United States. 95% of it is women. And it's one of the fastest growing industries in the country because of the aging baby boomers. And that's really important for you to know. And that's, some might think that that's a minute detail, but that gives me confidence going through that that's a good niche for me to go after, because 8 million people is a lot of people. You can have a lot of people targeting the nurse niche, in different ways with different layers, and you have a good chance of never hitting the same people twice. So, important things for you to remember, important for you to just get at a top level. That's a 10,000-foot view, and I'm using rough numbers, but that information was easy for me to Google and find out in a very short amount of time. But it gives me confidence when I'm launching into that. And now we've gone into, the sub niches of nurses, the different types of nurses, and all the different layering that you can do. My nurse is a dog owner that likes to drink coffee. Those things are fun, but you can work at your audience in so many different ways that it gives you so many different ideas. And I don't want to get rambling too much into this, but start with something. And I didn't even elaborate why that was personal for me. But my mom's a nurse, so I just asked her questions about, what was so important for you to be a nurse. Why, what was nursing meaning to you? What did it mean? Was it special? What differentiate, what made you different from other people? What did you hold dear to that job? And what I figured out was that nurses are very, very religious because of the kind of things that they see. And that actually gave me an advantage because nobody had done a nurse prayer, to my knowledge, up to that point. And then I did this nurse prayer shirt, and we sold tons of it. I think we did, $60,000 worth of nurse shirts on that one design. So, it's really simple steps that you got to do, and you don't overcomplicate it. Once you figure out something that's personal to you, if you're just starting, run with it. get going with it. You have an advantage in that niche. If you're a fisherman, you know what it's like to be fisherman, and then you can go, hey, that's a shirt, I'd wear that. Or if your mom's a nurse, you can design a nurse shirt and say, hey, mom, would you wear that? And if they say yes, go with it. Or if you just have that advantage, don't overcomplicate it. Don't think, well, I have these other ones and I don't know about this one and this thing is over here. You can get a shirt up within a day once you figure out that niche, or within a couple of days, how depending on your designer, and you can run with it, and then you can have an idea of what to go after, idea of if the person that you know in the niche or yourself would buy it or wear it, and then you have a road to go down, and don't get stuck. People that are, I'm still worried about getting a niche. I understand the frustration. If you're worried that there's money there, I can guarantee you that if it's an interest on Facebook, there's money there. It's about you putting the right product in front of people. It's about making sure that you're overcoming their doubts and their hesitations, and making sure that they understand that this is the shirt for them. Okay, I hope that simplifies things. So when you're looking around Facebook for all these different niches and these ideas and the things that Albert shows you by putting an interest in that first video, find something like this and go for it. Okay. And if we wanted to go after hunting, here's a perfect example: is hunting. 4.2 million people like hunting. Now, there's a huge difference between what we're looking at here, this number, and then what's actually inside the audience insights and inside and available for you to target. And that's a key difference that I want to point out real quick. First of all, have I lost anybody? Am I moving too quick? Let me see how this. Give me a 1 if you're following suit here, and I'm not talking too fast. All right, sweet. All right. Somebody asked how pi scale differs from AI targeting. AI targeting was a targeting method that I developed, and Albert touches on the strategy of high affinity interests, and then really the scaling and all the targeting that I had in there was stuff that worked months ago. Things change over time, and it definitely wasn't in the detail level and the system level that Albert had laid out for us and in this course. So, as things develop, as time goes on, systems are getting better and better and better because more and more money has been thrown behind them, right? So, that's basically how it is. An industry from its conception. Think of it like the computer industry. Think about how awesome the first computer was, but how ridiculously outdated that is compared to today. Well, the needs developed, time developed, things developed, people's opinions developed, strategies and efficiencies, and the mouse came up to be, and all these other things that improved over time. That's the same thing that's going to happen with the t-shirt selling industry via Facebook. Is we had an idea. I remember I've been in this game for long enough. 2 years sounds like a long time, but we didn't even think ads worked directly to t-shirts at one point in time. We all argued about it in a group, and we were like, no way, you can't run ads directly to t-shirts. That's never going to work. You got to build a fan page. Well, then newsfeed ads came out, and then we're like, oh shit, we all got to go towards pushing direct traffic to your page. So as things develop, as Facebook changes, so do the strategies. I hope that makes sense. All right, cool. Yes, AI targeting, the targeting aspect and the strategies all still work. But guys, there's many different ways to sell a t-shirt. You can do it, the way that we outlined here in Pi Scaled is different than somebody else's strategy, and that's fine. Adrian's method, T Advantage, that came out not too long ago, that works. It's about you focusing on one system and sticking with it. The biggest thing that drives me insane when I see people out there that say, "Oh, you don't need a course, just go out there and do it, and you'll figure it out." Well, guys, if you have a system to follow from A to Z, that's easier to do than risking your money in a dark room that you do. Because I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars failing, and same with Albert, But if you have a system A to Z for somebody to follow and it's laid out, that's eventually what you're going to try to do yourself. So why not follow somebody who's already been there and spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars like Albert on a system? We're not selling, PyScale is not about the newest hack that is going to come and go. It's about a ad system for Facebook traffic. And that's the things that will be golden over time versus, the new thing that's going to come up and then algorithm change is going to happen and it's going to go away. So that's a clear distinction. All right. We got people coming in on the strategy here. So hunting, back to hunting. Now that I've gone on my tangent, we got 4.2 million people that like this interest. What this is right here is a precise interest. All right. This is showing you exactly how many people like the interest of hunting. Now, the difference between this number and coming over to the Audience Insights tool and even focusing on just the United States, and I say hunting, I have 20 million to 25 million. The reason for the discrepancy is this is a precise number, and this number includes everyone plus the likes by association, which is something I coined in AI targeting, now that we speak of it. But likes by association is the method of Facebook reaching out to find new people that are also interested in that specific topic. Not everybody fills out their information in Facebook. Not everybody has liked enough stuff. Not everybody has communicated with enough people within a niche to be included in this precise interest, right? So what Facebook does is lumps all these people that they figure are likes by association. So your mom's, like my mom's a nurse, so it might show a nurse ad to me with the right positioning, like buy this for your nurse mom. It might give me the advantage to buy that. Or if you're friends with a nurse, they might try to see if you're also a nurse, because that way, if you haven't filled out your job or you haven't liked your place of work's fan page or whatever it is, they're going to try to push the boundaries and find those new people. And yes, they do that through our advertisement. That's You could look at that one way or another, thinking that's good or bad. It does give us the ability to reach more people than just this number, because there are more than 4.2 million hunters in the United States. I would bank money on it, because you don't have stores as big as Cabela's and what's the other one? All the other hunting store, Dick's Sporting Goods, and all the other hunting stores with just 4.2 million people. There's many, many more than that. But they're trying to reach out to new people through this. But what is important for you as an advertiser is to know that you're targeting a niche that has 4.2 million precise people, but you have an audience of 20 million people to work out of. So that's why using this hunting niche right off the bat is not a good step for you to do. What you need to do is get down into the niche and go deep, deep, deep diving in order for you to find the right people for you to target when you're testing out a new niche. And we will go more into that in the targeting. I just want to make that clear distinction for you to be aware of when you're finding a niche. So like biking and all this other stuff. Another thing for you to remember and write this down is that you have to understand your end avatar when you're targeting. Biking is a very, very good example here, because these guys right here, these hardcore bikers, the guys that wear the spandex and the helmets and they're all geared up and they have this professional bike. Those guys are way different than the guys that are just a casual biker, right? It's like golf. Golf, people have asked me like, ah, man, I can't get golf to work. I can't figure out what's going on. I have this great golf shirt. I'm targeting, golfers, but I'm not working. Like, I play golf, but I would probably never wear a golf shirt, especially the ones that people create via Teespring. Like, I have golfing shirts that I go golfing in, but a T-shirt about golf is a whole different story. And a T-shirt about biking is a whole different story. If somebody just bikes for weight loss, that's a different person than the guy that bikes for hardcore, like I go 30 miles and I bike from a city to a city. I got a friend that like that. He bikes from St. Louis, which is on the right side of Missouri, and he bikes all the way to Columbia, which is in the middle of Missouri. That's a far way. I hate driving that far, and the guy bikes the darn thing. So that guy is, if that guy is your targeting interest, which he kind of is, right? If you're making a bike shirt, depending on what you're putting in front of the person, you have to keep that in mind. Your t-shirt is the ultimate layer, the last layer that you have to consider. So it's not just about your targeting, it's about your shirt. If you have a general shirt, like a very general, funny biking shirt, you have a better chance of targeting a more broad audience. If you say, I get up and bike in the morning every day and I'm hardcore about it, and whatever your shirt is, then you got to find the really, really hardcore interests. And we'll talk about what that is in the targeting niche. But make sure that you're understanding your avatar and make sure you understand that your shirt is the last layer. And if you're confused what I mean by layer, like people talk about layering your image. So you obviously have your interests. So if you had biking, but then you can do moms who are parents and like coffee, you can intersect with it. So if you have all those different things, those are all layers, but your shirt is the last layer too. You got to make sure that your shirt addresses the interest. You would never put mom who's a wife who's a mom and likes coffee and bikes to an interest of men who bike, right? Well, the same thing applies with your shirt, to a general audience or a more specific audience. So keep that in mind. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that be the deciding factor when I look at somebody's like, can you critique my shirt? That was the reason that it was bad, is because, well, you're targeting broad, but your shirt is really, really specific to hardcore people. So you have to make sure that it's congruent all the way through. Does that make sense to a lot of people? Yes, give me a yes in the chat box if that makes sense. Krister, there is an agenda. We're walking through the course step by step, and we'll go into question and answer towards the end, but that's the general answer. Awesome. Okay. So, and we can look at some of those shirts too. I'll try to do my best, because he does, once we find your interest. So let's stick with the biking niche. All right. So the next stop is what he was talking about, finding ideas, is going over to sites like Cafe Press, Etsy, and my personal favorite is Pinterest. So let's just pop over to Cafe Press, and let's do, whoops. Biking. Okay.
Hey, sorry to chime in. A lot of requests to make your browser bigger.
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm
Thanks.
on this like 23-inch screen, so it looks huge to me, and I forget that it doesn't look huge for everybody else. There we go. Is that better for everybody? Awesome. Yeah, I'm like blinded by this thing, but I forget that it's not big for everybody on the webinar. So that's why I got to put my little shades on. Hold on one second. If you guys are like me and are on computers the whole day, gunner glasses are a lifesaver. Awesome. Sweet. All right, so let's look through here. This is biking. A couple things that, like this one, perfect example. Super simple. I've seen tons of shirts. I've sold tons of shirts just like this. Super simple, but would this sell to the average biker? Probably not, right? This wouldn't. If you just targeted broad, even narrowed down more than biking, but if you targeted broad and you weren't really specific, this wouldn't sell. Because this basically means that I live to bike. You eat, you sleep, you bike, you repeat, right? So this would be a shirt that you're going to want to deliver way down into the hardcore bikers. It's going to be way less than 10 million people. So you got to do your due diligence when you create a design to make sure that you understand the intention of the shirt. And this is that eat, sleep, bike, repeat means I live to bike. So now you got to go find the person. If this is your shirt, you got to go find those people. And that's what we'll address in the targeting. Okay. Let me catch up on here. Uh, People are asking about, uh, let me see, Gunner glasses. Yeah. They're like these yellow tinted glasses that help with eye fatigue. I learned about them from my buddy Chase, and I bought them. They're like $100 or something like that. But when you're putting in long hours, they really, really help with the eye strain. So totally worth it. So cool. That's something that we would understand that has to be. And the same with like this. These shirts are very familiar. I've seen these shirts before. Um, yeah, this I've sold a lot of these. Uh, that I love it when my wife lets me go mountain biking. So this is a great example of layering, right? So you're gonna have to sell this to men who, obviously are married and who are hardcore mountain bikers. So because this is going to be the guy that does it as a hobby, not that guy that's just casually mountain biking once in a while. Like the guy, I have a mountain bike at my home. I can't tell you the last time I went mountain biking. I had a mountain bike from growing up, so I brought it to my house. So I might get thrown in there somehow, some way, if I've ever talked about it on Facebook. But guess what, guys? That's not what this shirt would sell to. So understand where you're walking to. Understand when you're looking for ideas that there are layers and intentions that you have to know. And if you know that, it sounds like a lot of work, but if you know that, it's way easier in the long run when you're doing it. And it's going to be routine to you almost immediately. So keep focused on that. So, are there any more questions? That's finding ideas. We can go to Etsy. Etsy's the same thing, guys. It's just enter your niche, biking shirts. Hmm. Whoops. Huh. Maybe a T-shirt or something. But here's cycling. Cycling is another word for it. If you're calling it cycling, you're probably a hardcore bicycle rider or whatever. Cyclist. So there you go. There's another cool shirt, but that's only going to work to the hardcore people. So just understand that as you're going through. Biking's probably an interest that you're not going to get a lot of the casual bikers, because a casual biker is probably some guy that is still pretty hardcore, comparison to like golf. Golf is a niche where you can have the guy that just does it when he wants to go drinking with his buddies, and there's also the guys that are pretty hardcore in it. And I have friends that range the whole gamut, and I'm more on the having a beer and playing golf side, and I have friends that are like playing twice a week. So those are different interests for you to follow when you're finding your way through. Okay. Pinterest, the last one we'll cover. This is just a gold mine, right? Because you have plenty of stuff you can search for. You have plenty of stuff that is, new, possibly new to the niche, and already has social proof. Pinterest is essentially a Google image search with social proof attached to it. So let's do biking t-shirt. Yeah, and plenty of stuff comes up, right? And if you want, I just saw something funny, but I won't highlight it just in case somebody gets offended. You got your pin search that we had available, and we're just going to go ahead and do that and let it run and see if we can't find ourselves something cool as that's going on. Now, yeah, and Sam brings up a good point while I'm letting this run. In the UK, bikers relates more to motorbikes. I was kind of worried that was going to show up here in the States too, in my search here, but just understand that happens, right? You want to make sure that you're 100% aware that what's here in the United States is might be different in the UK or Australia, yada yada yada. So cyclist is probably a good word to use here, or cycling, or something like that, and making sure that you're addressing the right names. Let's see what we got here. I think we got more T-shirts than anything else here. We got a couple things here. Where this really works well is if we go boom, boom. Let's do cycling quotes. All right, so then we're going to go back to our bookmark, reload. And alive. My internet's slowing down. Can you guys hear me well? Albert, can you hear me? Albert?
I can hear you.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Just making sure my computer started making some noise. There are no limits. Somebody asked, are there are limits on the pages? I've never hit a limit. So here's here's the pin search in action. We got some quotes for the cycling niche. And it's all about making sure that you're addressing the right niche. So cycling was more of a precise word to use, like we were talking about. And you can see we got 5,340 repins. That's obviously a great quote. Probably has a lot to do with the image and the quote. But then you got something like this, uh, and it's a great content curator. Pinterest is perfect for everything. Where it has the advantage, and why I think it's better than Etsy and Cafe Press, is that if you can't use it for a shirt idea, you can use it for page content. So you can post these things pending that there's no rights against you doing that. You can go in here and make sure that you're posting solid content that already has social proof attached to it in the niche. So that's really, even something as simple as that. And something also to make sure that you're aware of when you're doing this, the bike, probably, just in case somebody's like, I got to go in the cycling niche, Matt's convinced me to go into it. We're going to make sure that we're putting the right bike in front of them too, right? This is something I learned in hunting, the hunting niche. We had put the wrong gun in front of the people, and they were calling us out. I think my designer used like an AR-15, which, if you guys know what that is, you probably would never hunt with it. So, or you shouldn't be hunting with it. And we're putting that on a hunting shirt, and they call us out pretty quickly on it. So just be aware of something like that. Just knowing your niche, knowing that your design is good and solid, and your designer has a good idea of what is appropriate for that niche, and you're putting it out to it. All right. So I think that covers the finding ideas, right? There's plenty of stuff that Albert covered in here that we did not have time to talk about, but at a 10,000 foot view, this is really, really easy stuff, right? You're finding ideas. You know that there's interest there because there's interest here. The money is going to be there as long as you're putting the right stuff in front of them. You can do the shirt research. You can do the source search. God, I couldn't speak there for a second. You can do the source search, but this is something that's probably going to fade away here shortly, as people are having the ability to remove the pin search button, the pin, not pin search, but the Pinterest button from their pages. And so that's good for you guys still to use, but you can see that I think it's less than there was before. So also a cool thing to do. You can do it for all the major sites to try to get yourself idea. Never copy, but model, right? Get something very similar, get something very, along the same lines, but never directly copy somebody. And especially never copy and do anything that's copywritten. All right, so I'm going to move. Kenny's asking, with shipping costs, do you actually sell T-shirts in the UK and Australia? Yeah, actually we do, especially Australia and Canada. UK actually as well. You got to have this. Not all sites are created equal as far as their shipping costs. So just figuring out the best site for you to use and that has the lowest shipping cost will really help there. And actually, at the end of the day, guys, a lot of stuff that people buy is going to in those countries, it's going to have a high shipping cost. So it might look high to you, but it might be something that they're kind of used to. Okay. Any other questions on this portion of the course? Finding your ideas, picking a niche, you know, basically finding that competition analysis. We kind of covered that as well. Any other questions? Yeah, you can outsource this. We actually have done that. It's, it's not that hard. You just kind of give them Albert's video and tell them to follow suit with it and give them your standards, your ideas, make sure that they understand um, the minor details like the layering, like the bicycle that I was telling you about, making sure that they understand the minor stuff all the way to the big stuff, and just if you're outsourcing this, hold somebody's hand for a couple weeks. Make sure that they are doing it the right steps, and you'll be surprised how quickly people can pick it up. Pat is asking, are you finding it easier to do broad ideas? No. At the end of the day, as long as your targeting is good all the way through, then it's the same. It's the same thing. You're just putting the right ad in front of the right person. Now, that being said, excuse me. That being said, you will be able to target more people. And if you know me and you know Albert, we like targeting lots of people. We don't like the mom that is a I'm sorry, the wife. There's a mom who drinks coffee and has a labradoodle. That gets you very, very narrowed down. You might be able to sell some shirts, but you never be able to sell thousands of shirts or shirts on evergreen status or shirts for months. So the larger you go, the more chance you have of selling more. That being said, you got to make sure that the shirt is congruent all the way through. Lee asks, how do we know if the images are copywritten or not? The 10,000 foot view is that anything that's, let's go back, anything that has the website address on it or says it's from, you're going to want to go ahead and give that person credit. If you're just doing, kind of the, like the content view. So let's see, nurse quotes. So if you're just posting content, give the person credit. So like nursebuff.com, say, boom, there you go, nursebuff.com. You're going to want to go ahead and quote that or like give that credit to that person or that site when you're posting that content. But if you're doing commercial use, like you're trying to sell, you're going to want to go ahead and not use anything that's like this. And then go to something like trademarkia.com or do your research. If you're ever in doubt, consult with someone. I'm not a legal professional, so I can't tell you the exact steps to do. But if you're going to use something that you think might be copywritten, do your work on it. If you're selling on Teespring, I don't know if they still do it or not, but they used to, have people on staff that would do the research for you by emailing legal at Teespring. The bigger they get, the more that might not be available to you. But it's important for you as a business to get to the point where you have somebody that you can consult with. Trademarkia.com. I'll pull it up real quick. Somebody was asking what site. Internet is just at a crawl today. So trademarkia.com. Just put it out to everybody. Patrick asked, do you know if you can put a lyric from an artist on a tee, like a singer or a rapper? I would say at a top level, no, just because I have a feeling that's protected. But again, same rules apply. Do your research, understand where it's coming from, figure it out. This is a business. You're trying to make money off of something, do a little research on the front end. All right. Carlos says, do you adjust the design as the campaign grows? No, absolutely not. If you have something that is selling, do not touch it. Just try to find similar interests depending on the layering of the shirt, depending on what you're targeting. Try to find similar interests and try to scale out and scale up, like Albert says. And then test the boundaries a little bit. If you have a layered shirt down, targeting women, maybe target the men in what's called reverse targeting, saying buy this for your wife, or something like that. So just it's a case by case scenario, but as a shirt is growing and as you are selling, do not change the design. Carlos also asked, what are you spending on designs for testing? What am I spending on designs for testing? I guess I'm thinking you're asking about what do we pay per design. Well, I have we have four designers on staff, and they range from $8 an hour up to $20 an hour. And the reason for the difference is the quality and time frame for work. So if I have a guy that can knock out a really good design in an hour or 2 hours, that'll tell you how much I pay him. But if I have like just a text-based design, then I'll give it to the lower end designers who rock out several designs per hour on a lower scale. So it depends on what you're designing. The more important thing for you to do is just to get somebody on staff so they're more dedicated to you. So they're more, a lot, especially overseas in like the Philippines or something like that. If you're trying to outsource to that area, job security is huge. So, work with them, start them off at maybe 10 hours per week max or wherever your starting point is, but hire them on a salary type basis or an hourly type basis so they know that you're a client going forward. People that try to do this in Fiverr um, end up realizing, and we already had somebody in the group that end up realizing that Fiverr costs you more, not only money in the long run, but time in the long run as well, because you have to deal with all the revisions and it takes forever, and they have 3,000 other people in their queue, and it's $5 up front, but if you want it in 7 days or less, it's another $10, and then if you want a revision, it's $5. So you ended up paying $20 for a design that you have to get it revised, where I pay $20 for a high quality design from somebody that understands me over time. Because my designers have an idea of what I like and what I prefer based off, like if it's a black shirt design, they know that I want white font or a lighter color font to contrast with the black. They know not to use like the darker colors. Once they get to understand niches, they'll understand what niches and colors work for that because I'll be requesting it more over time. So then they go to that almost immediately. And all those things are minor, but all those things add up over time and really help us out. Ken says cultural differences are huge. They might not get an American holiday. Yes, of course. But that's where you, as a business owner, have to step in and make sure that's 100% clear. And then if you go to a more Americanized or Western civil, Westernized country like the Philippines, they have a better chance of understanding because their culture from the United States goes over to those countries quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, if you're doing something very specific, then you have to make sure that you're helping them out to make sure they understand it. All right, cool. So that's where we're gonna, that's where we're gonna go. From there, somebody is expressing their distaste for Fiverr as well as I am. Fiverr, it seems like a great deal up front, but again, it costs you just a ton of money over time. And I don't know about you, but like I hate going into the messaging system. It's not built properly for me. Odesk is great. You get them like that handles a lot of it, but then we get them on Skype, and we basically talk there, which is much more easy, and we get the whole team involved. And there's a ton of different stuff. But what we're focused on right now is making sure that you, as the person that's basically starting off, depending on where you are in your business, we're going to build you from the ground up here, and we can talk about growing your business in the third webinar. Okay, top of the hour. I like to do what's called a pulse check and just kind of get everybody's feedback so far. How are you liking it? Are you learning something? Is this helping you if you're new? Give me a 1 in the chat box if you're with me so far. I'm going to take a drink. 1.3, sweet. Yeah, there's a good chance I missed your guys' questions. We have a lot. We have a couple hundred people on this call. We have over 300 people on this call. So a lot of questions are coming through. I'm going to do my best. If it can wait till the end, then let's keep it till then. Sue says, would be helpful if we can run pictures of our shirts by you somehow. If you're open to putting it into the group or open to being case studies, we can do that. You know, that's really the only medium we have to do that right now. Paul will work our way up to the more advanced stuff for you guys that are there. But it's important that everybody, and we have a lot of people that are just starting off. Bill asked a good question. So when you have this, when you have an idea, when you have, so Bill says, what's the best way to translate your design idea to a designer? The best way to start is to have something to model off of. So if you have this, if you wanted to get this shirt, this probably isn't the best shirt. Let me go, let's find something easier to, so let's do this. So you have a shirt idea, and you want to translate it over to your designer. What you're going to do is, for the most part, you're going to start with just sending them this link. That's what we do a lot. We have a reference point. Visual is always better. And then I take certain notes on what's going to change. Okay, so if I'm saying that I want to, change this from this, what is that, a pentagon or something, from this, this image, I want to change that over to a square. So basically, I would say, similar to how all the, cycle circles are connecting here, I want to have, a bicycles form a square by connecting the front and back wheel in an image. So just have the square design similar to this, but using the bicycles to connect each other to form a square. So write out bullet points, address a visual that makes it similar, and then you might take a few revisions, but ultimately you and your designer are going to need to get to know each other pretty well. I can fire a design over to somebody on my staff, write out 2 or 3 bullet points, and they almost know exactly what I'm looking for. A, because I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. B, I got the reference point image. And then C, they just know me. So they know that what I'm looking for, and even if I do it from my phone when I'm walking around, it's still that easy communication. And that's really going back to why I hate Fiverr and why you need somebody on staff, is so you can have that easy line of communication via like Skype. Skype just simplifies everything. in terms of communication, because with Odesk and with Fiverr, you have a messaging system built into their site that you have to go in, log in, refresh, do all this crap, when Skype is an easy one-on-one communication system. So important thing for you to realize with your designer. Mark says, do you really get that specific, or do you rely on the designer's creativity? As a t-shirt seller that has sold a few t-shirts by now, I know what sells, and I usually have a good eye on what's going to sell. So if I know that I can model something and that's going to be appropriate, like that square thing that I just told you about, that probably would sell. I think this shirt's probably done pretty well, usually because it's higher priced. On Cafe Press, I realized that some of the ones that are new are lower, and then some of the ones that have been around for a little bit selling, how the people get bolder with their prices. So that I can tell that this one would sell if you fought in the right audience. So just another shape is probably going to be something that sells. So I would go creative with it myself. If I want the designer to go creative, I'll just let them. And sometimes that happens with the more complex designs. If it's something easy, something that's like text based or just simple image based like this, I will do the dictating. If it's complicated, I'll let the designer be creative, but I'll also still give them an outline. Because ultimately, as the shirt seller, as the marketer, you're gonna know what sells. Just because something is well designed does not mean it's going to sell. All right. Think of like a fine piece of art, right? If that's not addressing the right person, no one's ever going to buy it. Like you can design the nicest piece of art in the world, I probably wouldn't buy it unless it's really specific to me. So hope that helps. Dale, you are not. The Fiverr doesn't like. If Dale asked, why not Skype with someone on Fiverr? Can it be set up through the same thing? Yeah, Fiverr's not huge about that. They want all your communication to be on top of that. Odesk doesn't care about you Skyping with your guy as long as you're on salary. And again, back to the point of how Fiverr is a one-off basis with somebody who has potentially hundreds to thousands of people rolling through their system. Because if you think about how the star people on Fiverr, the people that are like 5-star and top seller or whatever or top designer, they're going to have tons of people flooding their way, and you're always working off a one-off basis. Get somebody on your staff that ends up being somebody that has a relationship with you and knows you, and it'll help you save cost in the long run. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Mark brings up a good point. Fiverr will even flag your message if it contains the word email or Skype. They really do not want you to take the person off of Fiverr. All right, cool. All right, let's go back to anything to throw in there, Albert?
Yeah, I think I've covered it nicely.
All right, cool. Do. Let's go back over to, now we got fundamentals. So competition analysis, understanding that there's money there. We just did that, right? Just go out and see if other t-shirt sites are selling things there. Go to T-Scover. I think Albert goes through a really good competition analysis here. I don't think I need to elaborate on it anymore. I think that it's easy to get money out of any niche here as long as you're putting the right product in front of them. I sold, not too long ago, I sold shirts, and I think we did like 40 or 50 shirts to cow owners. Like the last thing in the world that I ever thought that I would sell a shirt to was cow owners. It didn't even register on my radar, but my VA at the time was like, hey, let's sell this shirt. And I'm like, all right, well, let's try it out. If you really think it's going to work. Well, it turns out it worked really well. And the thing is, that's cool is that if you try to narrow down into the niches that don't get addressed too much in the general public, like you're never going to walk down the street in my mall and find a shirt for a cow owner. You're never going to find it. Or like really, really specific dog breeds that are uncommon, then that's something that's going to be very, very much responded well to. And that's why layering works so well, is because you're being very specific. And that's actually why name shirts work so well, but you can't do name shirts. So competition analysis is laid out very well in here. My only thought on that would be just make sure that you're understanding, like we said, who you're going to be putting in the shirt in front of. Make sure it's apples to apples in your comparison. Just because this says paraprofessional doesn't mean that you can just change this to any other shirt design and it'll work, or any other option. Something that's really cool that for scaling purposes that works very well for us when we're scaling out on design. So like if you take this and you replace it with nurse, paraprofessional versus nurse, stick within the category that you're currently in. You see a shirt in. So a good example is what I just said, paraprofessional to nurse. Those two are in the same categories as professions, right? Taking this and trying to apply it to hunter and changing is in an actual title instead of job title, that has less likelihood, in my opinion and in my experience, to work. If you're going to scale a design out, stay in the same category. So on that category is job titles. In hunting, that would be hobbies. So if you find a good hunting shirt, go from hunting to golfing to other kinds of hobbies. But don't go from hunting to paraprofessional right off the bat. And does that make sense for everybody? Is my audio coming through for everybody? Give me a yes in the chat box so you can hear me. Bruce, you might be on your end there. I got a lot of yeses real quick. Ken says, isn't that too narrow, cows? I thought the same thing, but it was a design that we wanted to scale out, and we just picked cows, and it worked really well. Kenny, hold that question to the end if you would. And everybody else that keeps submitting the same question, hold those to the question and answer. We can't go off to a specific tangent until we get there. Yeah. So Brian asked, so keep job title shirts separate from hobby shirts, right? So if I had a shirt that did really, really well, like this, I think this one you use this because it did well, if I'm not mistaken. So if I sell 50 or 100 or something like that of this shirt, and I want to scale it out into other jobs or into other niches, I'll say that. Well, I want to scale it out into other niches. I want to stay in the same job or in the same category. So for here, now I would scale out into 4 more or 5 more job titles. And because that's the category that we're in. So if it goes well in there and I'm running out of job titles and I can't think of anything more that I could throw at this thing, then I would scale out into another category. But stay within the category as long as possible because it's the same type of language, it's the same type of end person, it's the same things you're going after with that design as it would be for another job. But hobby or something else, other category, like you wouldn't want to take this over to dog owners because Superwoman, Labradoodle owner, only because Superwoman isn't an actual title. That has a less likelihood of working than this one because they are very similar when you stick in the same category and you're reaching the same end person. And it keeps the variables tight. It doesn't let you expand that out. All right? Sweet. All right. Let's go to the next part. Everybody seems to be answering there. So this stuff I didn't want to talk about too much because we're already an hour and a half in, or an hour and 10 minutes in, and Albert again lays it out. Exactly. Designing and launching a campaign is super easy. Price point, I saw a question on that. Price point that's working well for us is $24.95 for a shirt, or $24.99, whatever floats your boat. I haven't seen a variable there, but that price point you can get away with, um, and you can bring it down if you want. If you're like a one-tone text-based design, bring it down to like 22.95. But if you got a nice solid two-color design with some text, maybe a couple images, something that looks quality and you know that's going to do well, as you should be putting out there. You shouldn't just be putting crap out there. 24.95 is a good shirt price. Woman's shirt, a woman's crew, you can bump it up a little bit more to like 25.95. But the unisex at 24.95 is good. I recently heard a lot of data has been gathered around hoodie price. And you can do 44.95. It is a good price for hoodies. Apparently, there's not a lot of difference between the 39.99 commonplace and the 44.95. And that was backed up by Represent's marketing manager, VIP, or not VIP, VP. So 44.95 for a hoodie, 25.95 for a woman's shirt, 24.95 for a unisex shirt, and then you can do like 32.99 for a long sleeve shirt. Okay, so that's really all you need there. The front and back, if it's really elaborate and you have a really good shirt, you can bump it up. I try to keep more of the margin solid, then worry about the actual price point. I try to attain at least a $13 margin. If you can push it up, some of the other platforms have better margins than the others, but I think it's getting more and more evened out lately. You want to try to get 13 or above because that gives you a good amount to push your ads for your conversion cost to be, like $7, $8, and you're still making money. The lower your margin is, obviously, the harder it's going to be for you to push your ad. So you have to think about you're a paid traffic person. Your business is based off of paid traffic. If you don't price your shirts, like 19.99 used to be the go point for people. I sold a ton of shirts at 19.95 that were two tone and front and back. That is an expensive shirt these days, and at 19.95, I'm only making like $8 or something like that for most platforms. You have to consider that you have to drive traffic to it, and I 100% promise you that 24.95, if you haven't pushed that high yet, if you're not comfortable pushing there, people buy plenty of shirts at that price point. It doesn't have much of a difference. The data points to it. I know very large sellers who push a lot of shirts at 24.95. It works. Push up there, and make more margin per shirt so you can push your ads further. Okay. Any other questions on designing and launching a campaign? Xavier says a good point. Some people tell me they find my shirt is too expensive at $24.99. Can it change from niche to niche? 100% yes. It also changes from shirt to shirt. Like I said, if you have a simple design that's one tone, go down to like 22.95. But I always try to have two tones, have a good image plus text, and have some detail to it. That teacher's prayer shirt is a good example of a one-tone shirt, but has a lot of good imagery to it, and you could easily get away with a 24.95 there. And guys, I've seen a lot of people say that 19.99 was too expensive too. Some people out there just freaking buy shirts at like $10 from Walmart. You can't do that here. So don't let it fool you. The majority of people are happy to buy at $24.95, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. Patrick asked, if you find a design that was selling 8 months ago, would you still model off that design? It seems like an old design. If it seems like an old design, it depends on what you're modeling off of, obviously. But if it is a evergreen niche like nurses, teachers, things like that, bring some freshness to it, and then try it again. Freshness being like update the design, try to change some things up, see what's working out in the niche right now as far as designs, and then bring your old design to look kind of like those, and it should do fine. As long as the message isn't something that was based off of a trend, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to sell an old design. Some of these things I'm gonna have to hold to the end. Carol asked 24.95. Is that just on the front? No. If you have a if you have a front and back, and you can still achieve a $13 plus margin, 24.95 is what I would go with. You're anything above that range, you're really gonna have to justify it with an elaborate design. If you've looked at some of like the really hot selling gun niches, gun niche shirts that have these like just beautiful designs. There's skulls, there's guns, there's three colors, it's front and back, and all these elaborate things and there's elaborate images. Those are the ones you can get away with like 26.95. And because people just have to have it because it's so detailed and elaborate. And I know it's like, oh, 26.95 versus 24.95, but there's psychological factors that come into play when something's above what people have been telling me, and what I agree with is once it's above like $25, you're going to be starting to get to where you're plus tax and shipping, it's like $32 now, or whatever, and it's just like, oh man, your cart abandonment's gonna go up. So, um, just factors for you to think about. Keep your price point to where it can stick around the 24.95. Somebody asked if 24 or if 99 better than 95. I haven't seen any data to go either way. I would do personal preference. The 4 cents isn't going to add up to you that much over time, but either one of those is just a good price point for you to follow. Any tips on launching time? I'm sorry. Any tips on launch timing, time of the day, week, or month? Um, well, Albert addresses the timing, right? 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Um, day of the, well, I'm sorry, time of the day. That's the time of the day we're going to go after. Week, nope. And then month, no. Launch every day. Launch every day if you want. Just stick with that time frame to launch. And it's hard to. The one thing I'm cautious of doing is scaling on a Monday. Other than that, you're only going to be starting your ad at $5 per day. So that's not going to be crazy for you in terms of launching on a Saturday versus a Tuesday versus whatever. I've had days in niches that Wednesday is terrible and Wednesday is awesome, and versus niche to niche. It's up to you to find that, and then understand that over time. Generally, Tuesday and Wednesday are my worst days. That's just a factor of it, but you can get it to where it's still a good day. People think bad days are, 50% ROI is a bad day. Where on Wall Street, that's a fantastic day. That's a crazy day. If somebody had 50% ROI on in the stock market in one day, they'd be pretty darn happy about it. We got to keep perspective here, guys. Most industries, 100% ROI like you can get on t-shirts is a crazy number. Jackie asked, which brands do you use? Hanes, most of the time. You can do Gildan. I think the costs are a little similar. Gildan's going to give you a little bit of a nicer quality shirt, though I go back and forth on that. And then American obviously is a nicest shirt, and that's another one you can use as a giveaway, as a reason for a little bit of an more expensive T-shirt, like a $26.95 price point. American is a good thing to pay attention to. There is that is good for certain niches, like the gun niche, like political niches, like stuff like that, because it's got made in America by it. So if you're selling in the U.S. into something that's like patriotic, be aware that using that American made, simple, because everybody knows that Hanes comes from outside the country. So if your people are very specific about that, then you have to be aware of that and give yourself a little bit of an advantage or a justification, and at least have it available for people in those niches. Reading through some of the questions here. Mark asked, "What about holidays?" I'm guessing you're asking about launching on holidays. I've had some holidays that are crazy good. Um, Here's the thing about holidays. A lot of people go to they're away from their desk, but they're on their mobile phones, because they're bored at their family holiday event, or they're, just scrolling on their phone, showing somebody something on Facebook, and they see a shirt. So mobile traffic for me has been way up on holidays, and desktop traffic has been lower. But it doesn't mean that people aren't at least going to click on it, get into your retargeting audience, and then you can hit them at a later date. I would never slow down on holidays. I remember Christmas 2 years ago was a huge day for me. I don't know why. It was probably because I was in some niches that did very well, but I sold a ton. And I think that was when pretty pretty early on when mobile ads in the newsfeed were really new. So maybe that had something to do with it. But it went really, really well. And that was Christmas, and where you would think most people are not on their phones, but people are on their phones all the time. Let's be honest. Uh, bu- 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 bu. Save some of those questions to the end, the most recent ones here. Right now, we are using primarily viral style in my business. We are constantly testing other platforms as things go on. And, we shift business from one way to another all the time because we're constantly trying to evaluate, is margin better, or is overall satisfaction of the customer, the highest conversions are on Teespring. Does that mean we sacrifice a little bit of a margin in order to make sure that our conversions are up and customer satisfaction is up, support is up, things like that? So you always have to be testing. I don't focus too much on the platform that much, because ultimately you're just driving traffic to one thing or another. Um, and so what I would do is make sure that you find a platform that works for you. Teespring is great for if you're new. Go there and make sure that you are testing it out, and hone in on something. And don't try to separate your business out too much, because the more you're on different platforms, the less focused you are. And there's nuances like, the buy button versus the add to cart button. Those nuances that if you screw up in your ad text, will cost you. So stick with one platform, figure it out. Viral Style is free now if you want to test them out. But if you're just starting out, I would say Teespring all the way, because it's the most, I think, the most trusted in the industry right now. And it will help you in just getting started, get your feet off the ground. Jeff asks, what sells better, a zipped hoodie or a pullover hoodie? Um, a pullover hoodie. All right, so we're getting a little bit off topic here. Do you only use Facebook as your launch stage? Ron, I don't know what that means. The big three platforms are where I would try to focus in. There's some other ones that are coming up. Something like Thread Me Up is coming up, and it might be something that's interesting over time. But Represent, Viral Style, and Teespring are the big three right now, and those are the best for anybody that's starting off. Okay, so I want to get into the next stage here. Setting up your pixels is something that's easy. Creating your ad image is easy. And then creating your page posts. Again, these are fundamental things that I don't think we need to cover specifically. There's plenty of YouTube videos on this. There's plenty of examples that you can follow, including our course. So does anybody have any quick questions? You QQQ right off the bat. Write some questions out. I'm going to get another cup of water here. Talking for an hour and a half is draining my voice out. So if you want to look over the questions, Albert, and see if you got anything you can answer for anybody, I will be right back.
Okay, let me see some of this. Hmm. Do you sell your shirts on anything other than Facebook? I think I primarily focus on Facebook for the moment. But about pricing, I think $13 margin per shirt is good to go. So, Albert, do you remember about how many shirt sales the competition already had when you were doing your research for the Pi Day? At that time, I think it was I found in discover.com, and there were two designs selling around. One was selling around 80 shirts, if I'm not mistaken, and the other one is like 100 plus. So this gave me a signal that this design is good to go. So I continue with the Pi Day shirt design.
All right, how we doing?
Yeah, I'm
How's
trying to
everybody
answer
doing?
some of questions here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think you can continue, Matt.
All right, cool. Everybody with me? If you're liking the content so far, give me a yes in the chat box. Keep you guys engaged. All right. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to give personally $100 to somebody at the end of the webinar here today. And I didn't tell Albert about that, but I will. If you guys stick with me to the very end, and keep some of you guys that are advanced engaged, and then the guys that are beginning, let's go ahead and stay engaged as well. So we'll do a random selection at the end, and we'll go from there. Jody asks, should we pay to build likes on a new fan page? Um, Here's the thing. With most ad types, specifically PPE, you're going to get people that like your page through the ad. Now, if your intention is to build a community, you can do the likes if you want, and it's not needed for t-shirt sales. If you're driving traffic via ads, like you should be, then you will get likes and your page will build. I have pages of 40,000 people that I've never done one like ad for because it's all come through the t-shirt sales. So the best thing about that is that you're making money, hopefully, off the t-shirt sales, and you're building the page. So you're almost getting the likes for free, right? So that's probably what I would do there. Mike asked, where would you go to find a good designer? Odesk, which is now Upwork, is a great place to start. If you want to go hardcore with your designs, 99 Designs, it's going to cost you a lot more money, but you are going to get like those super high quality designs that you've seen that sell a lot. But I wouldn't do that at first. I would go to Odesk to try to get somebody on staff. Have you tried YouTube ads for t-shirt marketing? I have tried YouTube ads. I'm actually meeting with somebody later today to discuss that more. I've also tried Facebook ads, which is something that Facebook video, I'm sorry, that is something that's really interesting. And I'm actually somebody that I'm talking to is like the end all be all guy of knowing how to do those. So those are something that we're testing out. We're trying to figure it out. It's very new for most people, but we are testing them. Tom asks, how many campaigns should we launch a week? Tom, I would do what you're comfortable with. Our goal is 5 to 10 per day. That gives us a stability flow of new campaigns coming in, campaigns ending, campaigns getting killed, and ultimately our flow is at about the same pace live every day. Now that's us. That also is going to come at a cost that if you have 50, even at a base level, if you have 50 live per day, and they're all spending $5 per ad, you're spending $250 a day. So if you can't spend that amount of money, because what if you lose, right? If you 100% lose, which might happen, this is a business, you're going to lose $250. So you ultimately are the person that's going to have to calculate that out. I would have a goal of how many live per day, and then I would try to maintain that number. So if you want 10 live per day, then I would maintain that number by launching 1 or 2 per day, knowing that some are going to end, some are going to be killed, and you're going to have some that are winners and they're going to stay around. Someone asked about one conversion pixel at a time per all campaigns. How would that work? Well, you would set up, and I'm just going to make the assumption of what you're talking about as far as how would that work. Set up the conversion pixel like Albert shows you, and you're just going to use that for all shirt designs. So all shirt designs will get the same pixel. All ads will get the same pixel. And the reason that that works is that Facebook stores a lot of information at the ad set level. The ad set level is going to store a lot of information and be able to manipulate how many conversions are happening, how many, the data inside of those to optimize on. That all can happen at the ad set level, where it doesn't need to happen at the case-by-case scenario of the pixel itself. So people thought that you needed to store all that data at the pixel level. No, you can actually have that data stored at the ad set level. That's why that works. All right. Let's go to my favorite topic, targeting. Everybody ready to learn some targeting stuff? Give me a yes. All right. Why not? Sure. All right. So let's go into the audience insights. Now, we dabbled in here earlier, and we have a whole video on it inside the course. But I want to go into specific niche by niche basics, and then we'll try to address it live here on the call. Now, being live in a random niche, I might stumble and fall, but I'd like to show that for you as examples of what can happen when you're doing this. So let's go ahead and put a niche in the chat box, and I'll randomly select one for you to follow. Whoa, a lot more people have responded. Okay. Horse lovers, which I'm going to assume is equestrians there. So let's go with equestrians. So this niche is actually something that's really cool. We sold a lot in the equestrian niche. Here's the deal. There's going to be a lot of money in this niche, right? Let's go. Horse riding. There's going to be a lot of money in this niche because how expensive do you think it is to own a horse? Probably pretty damn expensive, right? Yeah, you're going to be able to watch the webinar tomorrow, guys. No worries. I will be putting it up. So we're going to start with horseback riding and try to see what we find out here. Now, knowing that this niche has 8 to 9 million people in it with the likes by association is a great place to start. And knowing that it's very expensive to own a horse, like it's expensive to golf or to hunt, is a good thing to understand that those people have money and know that money will be there. I always start with 25 and above unless it's for a specific reason. That being said, we do 18 to 24 if it's like college related or if it's some kind of reason or horseback riding might be something there to start. But generally from 18 to 24 you don't have a lot of money because you're in college or you don't have a job and you haven't built up any disposable income, and the impulse purchase of a t-shirt might not be something that you can do. So 25 and above, you might be working and you might have some income. And let's go over to page likes. Now, something that we've started to do, and it's great for us to get started when we're trying to figure out targeting for a new niche, specifically the 4 interests that Albert talks about for us to pick, is start with things that are actual physical entities outside of Facebook. Now, what does that mean? So, associations, magazines, websites, organizations, anything like that, anything where there's a physical presence outside of Facebook, and people probably liked their fan page through that website or through that organization, is a great place to start. Now, you might ask, all right, well, what about something like this? This is a company. It's got 118,000 followers, only 200 likes on this previous post here. Here's 1,700. You might find a couple pages that you're looking at that are companies or organizations or things like that that they're not getting a lot of social engagement on their page. That's fine. Typically, what you're looking for when you're looking at pages that are just fan pages to market after, like I Support Nurses is a fan page created by somebody like us where there's no blog outside of it or no website up till recently. I think he created one. But if you're targeting a fan page, you need somebody that's highly engaged or their audience is highly engaged. If you're doing an actual website or something related to the niche that has a physical presence, virtual or in real life, outside of Facebook, it's okay to target them if the interest or the engagement isn't that high. Like there's 118,000 people that like this. Typically, you should have more than 338 people that like the post. But the reason that it's okay is because these guys, their number one priority is not to be a social marketer. Their number one priority is to sell stuff on their fan page. I'm sorry, on their website or their business. And most people that like this page go to their website, see like a like button, and like their page through the website or the organization or whatever. And the reason that the page builds up that high but people don't engage with it is that that's the way that they like the page. And they might not be the best marketers, but they build up these awesome pages and these awesome size pages through that method. So it's important to have the distinction. Hold on one second. There. So we like to start with Fernando. Please hold on with your question. We'll talk about it. So we will, these are the kinds of things that we will target right off the bat. So we'll look for an organization. At this point in time, we still need to narrow down, right? So let me see if I can get these guys. Nope. All right. What about American Quarter? So American Quarter Horse. We'll back out that. 900 to 1 million. So that's a darn good interest to find here. Based off of relevancy, we know that this is the interest that we want to target. It's got 900, almost a million people that like this page. Again, this is a organization. They might not be the best Facebook marketers in the world, but they have a presence outside of it. Look at, and they have 44,000 reviews. This is a uh, poorly run organization. Maybe not the best organization for everybody, but they have a huge following and they have a presence outside of Facebook. So this is where I would go if I was starting in a niche that I didn't understand. I would go to an organization, I would go to a magazine. We can find some of them up here, or we can look down here, Quarter Horse News. We tried to find that, it wasn't there. And we got very, very high affinity, and we got good magazines, we got good stuff like that that people would only like if they were embedded in that niche. Now, horse and rider. We were talking about the niche was horse lovers. So our shirt, uh, our shirt needs to be horse lovers. If we go too far in the equestrian route, if we use the word equestrian, we are going to single out these guys. I don't think this cowboy is going to call himself an equestrian. Those are the nuances of a niche that you have to understand. So we started for a reason. I came back for horse rider instead of equestrian for that very reason. If I was going to go equestrian, that is a tag word, a buzzword that I would use in my interests. So let's go back and see what I can get for equestrian. And if you guys don't know the difference, equestrianism, oops. If you guys don't know the difference, then if it's very slight, it doesn't look like a lot going on here with equestrian. So let me find equestrian. Let's see if I can't find equestrian corner. All right. Now, did you guys see what I just did there? Couldn't find anything right off the bat from using equestrian. So I just typed in the search bar, and the first page that came up was this clothing store that has a decent following. Again, not a huge, and looks a little spammy on their links. They're not Facebook marketers. They're a store. They have a presence outside of it. I'm sure if we went to their website, we might be able to see the Facebook like button or like us on Facebook, or their email list sends out, hey, we're on Facebook. Can you like us? These are the things that we want to pay attention to. Again, reviews. This means that there are a presence outside of Facebook that we can rely on for their quality of the interest. Their page is built on, they're probably not buying likes like a marketer would, probably have no idea how to really run it, but they have good traffic to their website, and their website shows a Facebook like button, and now we know it's good. So now we're in the equestrian. So if that's what you were going with horse lovers, we want to go in here and find things that pertain to equestrianism, equestrian corner, professional equestrian community, and some other things that you can find in here. And the professional equestrian community, horse.com, probably going to be something like that. And just go through the niche. And just as Albert says, and we show, test out 4 interests, see if it works. And like here's another one right here. And make sure that you're getting very, very high quality interests that pertain to your end avatar, not just your niche. Okay? Does that make sense for a lot of people? Do we want to go over another one? All right. People want to do another one, so let's shout out those as well. Seth brings up a good point. Why not do both horse rider and equestrian as 2 separate layers and groups? You could, but be aware that you're only running 1 shirt at a time. So I would do very specific. Like if you're saying I love to ride horses, you might be able to hit both the cowboy-ish or the horse rider niche and the equestrian at the same time. But if you want to be specific to the equestrian niche, use equestrian interest, use equestrian organizations, use equestrian magazines, and be very specific to them, because the nuances between an equestrian versus a cowboy are there, right? All the gear and the design and what they're wearing, and probably even the gender, right? You're probably gonna have a lot of women in the equestrian niche and a lot more cowboys in the cowboy niche. little bit confused now. What are you confused on? Johan or John. I'm not sure how to say your name. About targeting on horseback riding. Fernando, I go for as big as the audience, as big as the audience as I can. That's going to be dependent on the size, right? So when you are in here, let's go nurse, nursing. I know that my favorite nurse interest is the American nursing, or all nurses. I'm sorry. So these are massive interests, right? And relevancy, when you're looking at these, relevancy sorts off of affinity mixed with the Facebook audience size and sorts highest to lowest. So it just depends on the niche. If you're narrowed down and it gets lower, I try to go as big as I possibly can without sacrificing affinity. So I could sort here and see that Dansko footwear, which I think is like a nurse foot, nurse foot kind of, no, or maybe not. I thought this was the nursing foot, the foot store, but I try to find based off of relevancy that makes sure it's a mixture. So my affinity is still high and my audience is high. If I do this, your audience size, yeah, I love nursing. Oh my God, 88.5 affinity, right? But there's only 17,000 people in the audience. So I'm going to burn through that in a couple of days, especially when I start scaling. If I do it off of relevancy, then I know that I got hundreds of thousands of people in this niche to run at with a super high affinity as well. Oh, horseback riding is not the same as equestrian. Equestrian is like somebody, and if you want to know an easy way of doing it, this this is an equestrian. Look at the gear, look at the formal stuff, look at how they're, it's all about the style. It's like, I think it's like the sport of horseback riding. Now, horseback riding, whoops, is different. Now, you do have some equestrians in here, but you also got Joe Schmo over here horseback riding, right? So there's nuances there. So in your ad imagery or in your shirt imagery, if you're showing an equestrian and targeting a horseback rider, you might not connect all the way through, right? You might hit a little bit of the guys, but if you're showing an equestrian, target equestrian. The niche is big enough where you can go down deep and find the right people. And now you're going to talk about the other one we're talking about, cowboy horse. These guys are going to have certainly different. Like, look at that. That would be something that you would work for, cowboys or this right here, but it wouldn't work for the equestrian niche. So that's the nuances that you have that are different. Yeah, exactly. Horseback riding is more of a hobby, where equestrian is more of a sport and much more targeted. So it's like we were talking about with golf earlier. Golf, there's the pro golfers, there's the serious golfers, and then there's the guys like me that just want to drink beer and play golf. Completely different people. All right, so let's go back to cooks. Dale, cooks. Again, a great example, and I've done this one before. What do you mean by cooks? Do you mean the average cooker, or do you mean like a chef? Brooks brings up a good point while I'm waiting for Dale's answer. Um, does the audience insight tool gather information which we physically have to re-enter into our ads? When I use it, the info does not auto-populate into the audience section when I am setting up my ads. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. What you can do is build up an audience. Where am I? What you can do is build up an audience inside of here and then save it via create an ad, and you can go create an ad from there. But what I like to do, since I narrow down and layer down, I don't build out right here. I don't build out like more than one interest. I use my method of finding high affinity by narrowing down through or layering down through the niche to find interests like this. Then I plug each one of those interests in one by one. And now that we're testing single interest with 4 single interests, I'm going to create 4 single ads that have different ones of these interests. So I would just keep this window open, and then have your ads open in another interest or in another tab. Sorry, been talking a while now. Cool. Dale says chefs. Okay, well, if you're gonna, that's the key difference, right? So a cooking is a massive niche, and the reason is that there's all these different layers, just like horseback riding, just like golf. All these different layers that are inside that cooking. There's the average cooker, the husband or wife at home that just cooks for their family, or there's the guys that take it hardcore, grillers, or guys that take it pretty seriously, and then up to the people that are actually chefs. So that's kind of where you need to understand your nuances. Again, you need to know what you're putting in front of them. People have asked me like, "Hey, I got this great cooking shirt, but I couldn't get to sell," and I targeted cooking or a similar interest. It's like, well, not everybody who cooks is going to wear a cooking shirt. The average person who cooks is not going to wear a cooking shirt. The average person who gardens is not going to wear a gardening shirt. The average person who plays golf is not going to wear a golf shirt. You guys got to remember that if you're going after specific people, with your shirt, you have to target the exact same way. If your shirt is general and it's just something funny about cooking, you might be able to pull it off, but it's one of those hobbies where people are just in it because they kind of want to cook once in a while and they think they're somewhat good. Like I think I'm a decent cook, but I would never wear a cooking shirt. So here is an easy thing when you're doing chef. Start with job title, any kind of profession. Test your shirt out in the job title niche, in its interest. So I think you could pull it up here, right? It might work here. They've gotten better about this. I know it pulls up in the ads. You can put in the ads like chef, culinary school, if you want to do like a culinary school and target their school. Anybody that's gone to culinary school is more than likely a chef. Let's start culinary. Jeez. Hold on one second. I'm not good at this word. Thank you. Okay. What's going on here? Okay. Culinary art. Let's do a little art just to make sure that I'm understanding exactly what that is. Google image search is my favorite thing to just search on, even more than Google, just so you understand that what this is. And what this looks like to me is food that's done in a very artistic way that only a chef would really do, right? Anybody think I'm wrong on that? Yep. Hardcore, high class chefs. Yeah, cooking is also a hobby. Sweet. All right, so that's where I want to start off. And it's probably going to translate over into people that maybe are chefs. The interests are going to be people that are chefs, but not necessarily this is like artistic with it. And that's going to be good for us as well. Our job now is to get down and drill down into the affinity levels, and go from there. So let's sort on high affinity, and see what we find. Cans get you cooking. I like the audience size on that way. Culinary club. Here's looks like a good place to start, right? I'm a little worried that we might not find too many people in this niche or too many niche interests in this niche, because I have a feeling that this number is really small. Actual number is really small versus the precise, but I might be wrong. So let's do culinary club. Oh, sweet. All right, so what I did there, guys, is I just sorted on affinity to cut out the garbage. I wanted to find out of the top 5 something that had a large audience and a high affinity. And I picked basically the one with the highest amount of audience because of my feeling that it's going to be really hard to find good interest in this. And here we go. Now we found some solid affinity. This one itself looks like a great interest to go after. Cheese for chefs, I have no idea what that is. But it looks like a food and beverage company. We got some reviews here. And again, not great at their advertising, but it looks like it's real. And they even have their own website. So we can go to the website. And guess what? All about chef's crap, you know? It's all about chef. Chef cooking, recipes, pairings, things like that. And I didn't see, but let's go back. There you go. This is what I was talking about people liking their Facebook page through the website. People come to this, it ranks in Google somewhere. People come to this, they click that. People like their site. The site is not, this is not necessarily built by advertising, it's built by the website. So we know that it's a physical entity outside of Facebook, and people are going to it and interacting with it. We got 91 reviews here, 4.2 stars. It's a good interest. All right, let's move on. Culinary agents. You're not getting a lot of people here like I was talking about. You can back sort on affinity to try to find some more. Here's a guy that looks Chef Billy Parisi. A little bit better of the marketing. Still not a ginormous page, but you're getting into the niche. You're understanding what's going on. This is obviously about chef stuff, and these are giving you great interest to go after. Extreme culinary outfitters. Boom, that's huge, right? Nobody's gonna like that. That sounds like, you know, all about chef plates, you know, things like that that you can buy that are relating to the chef niche. Again, a website, probably with a Facebook like button. Does this making sense to you guys? I need a yes in the chat box from you guys if this is making sense. Perfect. All right. So that's the mentality behind it. Again, when I'm looking at these interests, I'm not seeing it here, but if it's a marketer page that comes up, unless the page has high engagement, I probably won't target it. Let's go back to nursing, and I'll show you what I was talking about. Sorry. Nurses Rock. 663,000 people that like this, right? If you had 663,000 people that like your page, should you have 117 people liking your posts? Or 1,000 people liking your posts? 7 people liking your posts? It's a good page, and I don't think that this even comes up as an interest inside Facebook. What is interesting is this says allnurses.com, which I've never seen before. Because allnurses.com is a website that you can target inside of Facebook. Allnurses.com. So that's interesting that Nurses Rock came up for that. But again, I'm targeting what I know is a good interest. Allnurses.com is a fantastic interest, 56.4 affinity level with 226,000 people that like this website. This website is big. And there's a lot of interest. 10 people that like that. That was only 4 hours ago in an external link. But this is a website. Their job is not to be Facebook marketers. They are very, very well ranked outside of this and get tons of traffic that doesn't come from Facebook. So that's why I know it's good. Okay? Hope that makes sense. That's the difference between a lot of these interests. Like I support nurses does come up. I think that in their page maybe is a little bit better managed. But some of the like funny nurses, mighty nurse, these pages don't come up because they're marketer based. They have no physical presence outside of Facebook. And they just overall with their engagement and Facebook indexing them isn't as strong. But things that are out external, things that like magazines, associations, and websites, those are all indexed because they are physical entities outside of Facebook. I'm not going to continue to beat this into the ground. I'm going to take it to the next step. So say that I like what happened with this interest. Say that I know that my audience was women, that we targeted women 25 to 65. Now I know that I have a winner and I want to expand this further. Another key way of understanding this specific audience, once you have a key niche, key interest, like allnurses.com worked really well for you in the testing method. You want to expand on it. Find the winning demographic and narrow down, say 35 to 44 was the winning demographic. I'm going to go ahead and say 35 to 44. Go back to the page like and see what comes up inside of here that maybe wasn't there in the whole general interest or the whole general audience. Okay? So if you missed that, all I did here was say I had 25 to 34. See how the things are changing there? So things might not change, but whatever comes up to the top in that specific demographic will be a good interest for you to scale out with because it's specific to that winning demographic. Once you're at that stage, once you've made your way through the testing method and you're scaling out using the down the road scaling methods, I just wanted to point out the fact that once you go demographic specific, like 35 to 44, some other things might pop up here. Maybe not, but some other things might come up here that you can use. Okay? Top of the hour, guys. I want to check. We still got tons of people on the call. How is everybody doing? Give me a 1 in the chat box if you're hanging in there with me. And we're on this 2-hour webinar. We're going to close it out with some Q&A. And then we're going to close this one out. Excellent. Great. We are doing great. We got people that are here. We got people that are engaged still. We got people that are going to be available to win that $100 at the end. The most sense I have heard from one man all day. Nice. Brian says, is it good or bad a website with a Facebook page? That's good. All right. Somebody wasn't paying attention earlier. Somebody said, what $100? I meant I'm giving away $100 at the end of this call if you stick with me. At random selection. One person's going to win $100. Anthony asks, what would you target dads for Father's Day? Or what would you target dads for Father's Day? I think what you're asking is how would I target dads? Dads are easy. You're going to go with parents, obviously men, and then go with your niche, right? So you can do hunting. So now you have dads who are hunters. You might want to do like 35 and above. You want to get to the age where they're going to have kids, because ultimately what you're going to want them to do is tag their wife, tag their kids, and ask for that tag in your ad description. So say, do you like this? Do you like this shirt? Are you a hunting dad? or something like that to incentivize them to say yes, and then give them a link, but also ask them to tag their kids or their wives in that, because ultimately you as a dad are not going to buy your own Father's Day shirt. You can also do the reverse, which you can do by saying women who are involved with hunting, who are married and have who are married, because you want to make sure, where is it? You want to make sure that they are married. Not only are they parents, but they're married. And you can do what's called reverse targeting by saying, hey, is your husband a hunting dad, or something like that? Is your husband a hunting dad? If yes, get this for them for Father's Day. So you're speaking to the woman, making sure that they are people that have shared interest with their husband. They're both hunters. And likes by association, like we talked about earlier, guys, they might be thrown in this hunting niche because they like their husband's posts, or their husband is a hunter, or our husband always talks about hunting. It doesn't mean that they are hunters. They just might be likes by association. A good way to tell when that's going to happen is something like this. So generally, when you think that hunting would be dominated by men, there's an even split here. Well, the reason for it. Oh, I am on the married path and the parents. So this is where you get into the fact that there are likes by association, and it's such a niche that it's so if you're a hunter, you know a lot of hunters, right? So you're always posting about hunting stuff. Your posts are very engaging. I got buddies that are hunters, and they always post like pictures of the buck that they shot or the ducks that they shot, and people like it. You either like it or hate it, but if the people that like it are probably thrown into the hunting niche, right? So those are things to be aware of. Likes by association can be in your benefit if you target correctly, and your ad description has to help you down the road with that. So make sure that you're talking to somebody in the right way, depending on your targeting. Chris, I think I just answered that. He said, "Wouldn't you target married women for Father's Day?" You can target both. You can target the men and make them like the shirt. Like, I sold a lot of shirts to the Marine dads. I targeted the men, saying, "This is perfect. Are you a Marine dad? Well, this is perfect for Father's Day. Tag your children below, or tag your wife below." And they'll tag it, and that person who gets tagged will buy, or the guy will buy for himself. That's a possibility as well, because a lot of guys are proud to be dads. Everybody should be proud to be a dad, but a lot of guys are so proud to be a dad that they'll buy it. And then you can target women who are married, who are parents, and you have to speak to them correctly. If you use the same ad language as you did for the men, obviously it's not going to work as well. So target the women and say, get this for your Marine dad husband or your hunting dad husband. Seb asked, how do they target their wife and kids? They tag them in the comments section. It's just like how people have been, or people have been tagging me in the group all the time. All you do is you come down here and say, that's a tag. See how all these people came up? So if I highlighted them, oh, broke it. So if I highlight here and I post it, or if I come down here and do the same thing in the comments, that's tagging somebody there, okay? And most people know that now. So it's something that's been more and more adapted. You can say tag them in the comments below, and you incentivize that tag, and people know how to do that. Okay, so we got a shirt that we can use as an example in the comment section. Maureen asked about the Christian niche. We don't have time to go through everybody's examples. There was about 100 different niches that people asked for, but we will try. So here's a cool shirt. I like this shirt. So this is what you call either no interest targeting or people are just banking off of certain interests as a way to do this. So what I would do here is target something like Teespring, Cafe Press, Etsy, and obviously this is based off of an older age. So you can target the individual T-shirt sites now. Teespring has a very large presence on Facebook now, so you can actually use them in your advantage to target. If they like Teespring, now people are going to say, "Well, aren't you targeting marketers?" Maybe there's a couple thousand marketers online, but there's way more customers of Teespring than there are marketers. So you're going to be targeting a lot of people here who might be previous buyers of shirts. And Teespring always talks about the fact that a good portion of their population is repeat buyers. The people that follow them, people that buy from them, are repeat buys. So you're targeting people that like Teespring is a way of knowing that they're T-shirt buyers. And then you want to be specific to the age demographic that this is describing. So 50 and above maybe, and then test 40 and above, and see where you can go and go from there. Okay, that's how I would target this. Uh, Johan says someone in another group mentioned that they would target older people that like wine. I guess I get that. Now I'm looking at it because people always say wine gets better with age. So yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. It's just about testing. Test Teespring, test wine, things like that. Wine's one of those things, though, it's going to be a massive niche to go after, too. And you're going to want to make sure that you're narrowed down in that as well. Let me see some more questions. You seen anything over there, Albert, that you want to talk about?
Uh, yeah, many people are asking which pointers to start with. I think I will choose the one with try to find the high relevant first, and then you check make sure that it has high affinity, and then the last one is you check to make sure that you have the audience of 100 to around 300K. If you cannot find it, it's okay to go with like 40 or 50K audience. So for example, I would put 4 ad sets. Maybe sometimes I test with 2 ad sets with 100 to 300K audience, and the other 2 ad sets with like 40 to 50K audience. Yeah.
Sweet. Very cool. Hey, apparently we missed you at PyScale Immersion Session 1 email went out. Not entirely sure why that did, because it looks like a lot of you replied saying that you are still there. So if you got that email, I will ask my GoToWebinar rep on why in the heck that's happening. Oh, yeah, it's only scheduled for 1 hour. We run over that a little bit. I will call my rep and ask about that, though. Okay, so I think we'll do the testing method in more advanced stuff in the next call. It'll be a good place to start because it looks like there's a lot of questions still on some of the more basic things. So I just want to make sure that we give a nice rundown on what's going on there. Who is what targeting? Not sure why we got people asking that. Hold on 1 second. Guys, if you got a question, go ahead, type QQQ and then ask your question if you would. I don't think it's too late for Father's Day. I think June 5th is the what I saw on teespring.com. So I would make sure that you get that out pretty quick. Essentially, if you're starting right now, if you don't have a design ready to go and you want to run a short and you want to run a long campaign, yeah, I'd say you're too late. If you can short burst a campaign, probably still have a little bit of time. I have a niche. Okay, here we go. QQQ. I have a niche fan page of 100,000 fans and a website with hundreds of thousands of visitors per year. Commercial posts don't do well on my fan page yet. Shirts and then just sell like thousands. I can do dark posts, but then you have lose some virality. Would you recommend starting a dedicated shirt page to sell from as well, so I don't burn my fan page? No, not at all. Um, Here's the thing: if you have a shirt that sells really well, even if you post it right now, you're only gonna hit a small chunk of that 100,000 people that are engaged on your fan page and they like your page. So I would post it on there. Something that's cool to do too when you have a good established niche, get 4 designs or get 2 designs if you want to start there. Put them on a shirt, grab the image, and throw it a side by side. So like you have 1 and 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and then post that to your fan page and have them vote on a winner. You'll get a lot more reach on that first post because it doesn't have a link involved with it, and you'll get engagement on it. So then when the fan page votes, say 1 is the winner, you can turn around and post that, say, hey, we listened to you. Here's number 1. Here's the link to buy. So then your post, so you have 100,000 people on here. What you should do is boost your post to that page. Boosting to a page is the number one way to get really, really cheap cost per engagement. Super cheap. And since you have 100,000 people, you're going to reach a lot of people. You can test it out for $5, and essentially you still do Albert's method here, but you're targeting your page, and your page is essentially become the interest that you're targeting. You can do that in the ads manager as well. You can also target friends of the people that like your page. Banking on, depending on where your niche is, you might be banking on the fact that people who like your page might have friends that also like similar things. And you can use that as 2 split tests to see what's going on. I still have a page that we sell tons and tons of shirts in just by boosting it because you've already built that audience. Another thing for you to do is go into audience insights and people who are connected to your page. Click on here and enter your page. You'll have all these things that bring up. You'll bring up, especially if you have 100,000 people, you should have a lot of data that brings up what your people like. I'm sorry, I've been talking for a while here. What your people like. And using that data, if your interest was, say, Candy Crush Saga was your number 1 liked interest and the highest relevancy to your page, then use those as your interest. Using the fact that you have 100,000 people is an extreme advantage to you that over most of your competition, I would assume. So I would go ahead, run 1 shirt at a time, be engaging with the fact that you're running a shirt, and realize that people are accustomed to you selling them things now on fan pages. So you don't have to dark post it. You don't have to try to hide anything. Don't slam them, and don't stop posting content, but post a picture of your image on your shirt, link it, and then pin that post to the top, and then drive traffic to it, and you'll build that page up even further. Cool? Carlos asks, have you ever done bulk interest targeting for determining commercial intent? Once established, do 1 by 1. Yeah, I used to use bulk targeting all the time. But the reason that Albert's method is so successful is that you have more control over your ads. My question to you is, what's the harm in doing one by one targeting? Why is bulk interest targeting so important to you? If you're using very large interests, it doesn't really add you any benefit to slam as many in there as possible. You can target Candy Crush Saga here, and guess what, guys? A lot of people that are in Candy Crush Saga are going to be in a lot of these smaller interests, right? This is the highest relevancy for this niche. I'm going to get into a niche and make this make more sense. So a lot of shoot, hold on, nursing's huge. All nurses. A lot of the people that are in these pages that like the top 10 are in all of the smaller ones. So why would you want to bulk those up? The reason that we do separation of interest is that some of these out of the gate might perform very poorly and might not ever get to the right people. A lot of these people cross over from interest to interest, but a lot of them don't. You can look at some of these individual interests and find that the demographics vary heavily from interest to interest. So you might have a lot of young people over here, might have a lot of old people over here. Some of them cross over, but not everyone does. And that's why you want to have the most control over your ads as possible and use Albert's method of interest by interest targeting. If you have bulk interest, you might run into one of those bad interests right off the gate. And then it looks like your shirt is crap and it looks like you get discouraged and don't even run it when you didn't realize that only one of the interests was bad. Facebook has no rhyme and reason that we're aware of that they serve up the ad to a certain person in a certain niche or an interest or whatever of a demographic at once. So what you're doing is driving traffic down to the interest level so that you can deep dive into who actual buyers are. So I hope that helps. QQQ, I see a lot of designs with skulls. Who do you target using skulls? The only ones that ever come to mind is bikers. Bikers, gun owners, some of the hardcore, freedom, Second Amendment, some of the like the hardcore side. I've seen people try to take skulls over to like nursing. Doesn't work. You have to be aware that skulls imply a lot of different stuff. So I would stick with like the hardcore tough guy kinds of niches. Wesley says my video is not loading. My video is not loading in DM Lab. I don't know what DM Lab is, Wesley. If your videos aren't loading in the members area of PyScale, then go ahead and send our support desk a email. Judy says, hey Judy, by the way, hey Judy, when you launch, do you use platform name in your URL, or do you use something like Pretty Links Bitly? Fifth time I've asked. Sorry, Judy, there's hundreds of people on this call. I do a redirect, so Bitly is perfectly fine. And yeah, I was wondering. Graham says he thinks he's in Ryan Dice's digital marketer lab. Sorry, I'm not Ryan Dice. I wish I was. So I don't like to put the platform in my ad because at the end of the day, that gives people an easier route of finding you using searches and spy tools and things like that. And sometimes if the URL gets huge, then it's kind of ugly to use. And so a redirect of some kind, your own domain, Bitly, things like that, easier for you to do. Brooks says, I recently ran 2 ads on the same shirt. My first ad had a standard background in the ad image. My second had a photo of a bunch of people in it. First ad was accepted. Second ad was rejected. Does Facebook frown upon ad images with people in this background setting? I don't know. My question would be, were you showing anything? Like, what were the people doing? Did they give you a reason? They usually give you a big, long reason, kind of general, but at the same time might give me an inclination of why exactly they banned that. Fernando says, Matt, can we post a T at a niche related Facebook page, or are we banned for doing that? Can we post a T at a niche related Facebook page, or we'd be banned for doing that? Fernando, help me out. What are you talking about? Krista, yeah, it's in the PyScaled. She said, "Can I download the flowchart, or can I download it somewhere?" It's in the PyScaled members area. Have you seen a decrease in sales and an increase in ad cost over the last 3 weeks? I'll get with my team and ask that, but no. Overall, we're still seeing and solid ad costs. How do you target inspirational sayings for shirts? Example: live your best life. Quote for example only. It's Sheila. That's different. That's difficult, not different. It's difficult to do. The reason for that is that you're on a social platform and you're not allowing for very much. Um, you're not allowing for the targeting to help you at all. So I would do like live your best life and then put like a cyclist next to it, like we were seeing, and then target cyclists. And that helps you give an interest to go after. Live your best life can mean a lot of stuff, so you can get away with using that quote for a lot of things, but it's really tough to do general shirts. You can do the Teespring thing that we were talking about, target that, um, and play with some options. But at the same time, the more general you go, the harder it's going to be. Because live your best life to the general audience of the United States might not translate over as much as possible. Not a lot of people would wear that. So using interest help you narrow that down. I've I have a page about an athlete. Can I mention his name on a tee, or must I go between the lines? I wouldn't use an athlete's name. That's going to get you taken down a Teespring or get you taken down to something else. Mark says, problem with one by one interest versus bulk. You spend a lot of money up front. $5 per interest can add up fast. Example, interest $5, 5 by 5 per day is $25 per day. Yeah, I understand that, Mark. But at the same time, understand that the fact that the testing up till recently, up till the slow cooking started evolving, the testing, what I recommended, what everybody did was $25 per day. The cool thing that interests, one by one targeting versus bulk allow you to do is cut off all the losing factors of that test. So we used to do $25 per day on one bulk interest ad set. And when I used to have demographics at the ad level, I would target several different ads within one ad set. But you can't do that anymore. So doing the individual ones can stack up fast. Yes, if you are comfortable with doing two or one for that matter, start small and build your way up. You're going to have to be comfortable spending, trust me, $25 per day. If you want to get up to the 6-figure level or anything like that, we spend thousands of dollars per day. So you need to be comfortable spending the money, knowing that you're going to have to buy some data. That's part of the game here. So you're going to have to spend money to understand the niche, to understand who's buying, and then you can scale and make up. Guess what? You can make up $25 really fast. So don't deter it away from that. Mark also brings up a good point. With OCPM, won't Facebook reduce the bad interest anyways over time? Yeah, okay, understand that. But what if it takes 2-3 days, right? So now we're back into the same amount of money that you're spending with the single day. So you can cut out waste faster with the single interest ads than you could with bulking them and trying to let Facebook optimize over time. Also, another thing that's going to happen is that you're optimizing with a PPE ad, you're optimizing with engagement, right? So Facebook's going to drive the most traffic to the people who are engaging with your ad. Now, does engagement mean sales? No, it doesn't. So what's going to happen is your Facebook ad is going to optimize to the people that are engaging, but not necessarily buying within your bulk ad set. So PPE having the most control over, and by the way, that's why PPE ad doesn't work all that well for some people, is that because they realize that they're optimizing on engagement and not conversions. That's why the end goal is always optimizing for conversions in a website conversion ad. But what you're doing right now is making sure that you're getting virality and you're spreading out and you're helping people find your ad through a PPE ad. So you can do it on the single interest and they can still optimize for engagement, and you can keep the ads that are optimizing for engagement and making the sales. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Joseph asks, after testing to find the interests that work, do you then combine them into one ad? No. Simple answer to that. Follow the method A to Z. If I don't have a fan page, do I need to create one before selling a shirt? Yes. Don't they try to serve it to the most likely to buy or share click? AJ, when you're optimizing for engagement with a PPE ad, they're going to optimize for engagement. So the people that are engaging with it, which is a like, share, comment, and yeah, no, like, share, and comment. Sorry. If you're going to optimize for conversion, that is the people that are most likely to buy. Yeah, I mean, you can use audience intersect. Somebody's asked, you're saying interest by interest. You can use something like audience intersect if you like. The most use out of audience intersect that works the best strategy that I have for that is when you're crossing people over. Now, Facebook's going to have their own system, which I've been allowed to use, which is called Flex, which is an internal base for audience intersect, which is working quite well. But that's only when you want to do like the mom the pit bull lover who likes coffee, and then you cross them over. All the targeting and things like that are still the same. You would just combine the top interest in each niche. Plenty of shirt and plenty of money to be made without using audience intersect. Yeah, AJ brings up a good time, good thing, and this is why I say you have to be really specific with your shirts. You have to be careful. Some of those customers are complaining about the skulls. Yeah, skulls are offensive, so you have to make sure you're putting it in front of the right people. How would you target a broad? How would you broad target a sport like football for a broad design? Patrick, I would need like an example of what you mean. I wouldn't do anything like NFL or team related, so just help me out with what you mean there. What are skulls? Skulls are like, I don't know. I mean, it's a human skull. So these work really well in certain niches, but not in most because they are offensive, as you can see. Google shortener better than Bitly. That's cool. Google shortener is another shortener. Kenny asks, is it possible to reverse engineer, find a successful t-shirt target audience and advertising? Not down to the details, but if you ever notice that, let's see if I can get lucky here. If you've ever noticed a shirt in your newsfeed, or a sponsored ad for that matter, let me see if I can't find a sponsored ad. Okay, here you go. So here's a sponsored ad, right? I'm being targeted for some reason or another. I know why it is. It's because I am a member of 5.4, which is a similar package than this. So let's go ahead and click this right corner, and you can say, why am I seeing this? Click that. So one of the reasons you're seeing this ad is because Bombshell wants to reach people who are similar to their customers. We think you're similar based on what you do on Facebook, such as the pages you liked and the ads that you've clicked on. So that means I'm basically tossed into this audience because of the 5.4 Club, which is a similar website. Not the best example. Sometimes you can do that and then something cool pops up like Machinist or something like that. Sorry, let's see if a shirt will pop up. Yep, sponsored. Okay, so machinist right here, right? Let's go. Boom. Why am I seeing this? Oh, so this is a retargeting ad. So I saw this one at first, and I was like, oh, why am I being targeted? So I did that, and it was because I was thrown into the machinist niche, probably because I've sold a lot of shirts to them. So that's something that's like a reverse targeting trick that I've learned, and that is helpful. Any tips on creating video ads? No, I'm still in the testing method. Maybe I'll bring on somebody that's um, an expert at it. If that's something that you guys are interested in. I definitely do not have enough to target to speak to it yet because it's something I'm still testing. If the audience is less than 1,000, is that okay? I would never target somebody that's less than 1,000. I'd be surprised if you could even get that as an interest to pop up. Points well taken. You are a great coach. Thank you, Mark. Really good practical info. Thanks, Janet. Click to website is the only time I use click to website is retargeting, just because you can hammer them, with getting them back to that website, right? So you ever heard the phrase that it takes multiple times for people to see something in order to buy it? Well, that's why retargeting works so well. So a click to website is optimized on people clicking to the website, right? So if they've already seen it, then I can hammer them with an ad, a click to website ad to get retargeting done well, right? And just get them back to that freaking site over and over and over and over again. And that's the one ad that I really don't care, a retargeting click to website ad. I don't really care about the frequency. Now, I also have had a lot of success with website conversion retargeting. And they both have their pluses and minuses. Obviously, website conversion is going to build that profile over time and get the best people back there. But I do see that website conversion will eventually slow down over time, because it's trying to optimize for website conversion, and in that you're going to run out of people quicker than just clickers. Quicker than just clickers. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, skulls. Sorry. Uh, any pros cons on front designs versus back design success? If you're talking about just back designs, um, I would just do something that's really big, really, broad. You got this big, see how this one's on the back? You never put that on the front. It's huge, right? People can wear these massive designs on their back because there's more real estate, and it's just more of a billboard type of area than you want all the way on your front. You're not going to sit. If you ever had a big, one of the first shirts I designed was a real big image, and it was screen printed all the way down. So it was from the top to all the way down to the bottom. Well, those wrinkle kind of strange when you're sitting down and you have that on the front. And so people know that, especially now. This is like 2 years later. So just be aware of that is something that also happens on the front, or on the back versus the front. Front designs work for most things, but I would just be more clean with your design, wouldn't be all the way down. Front pocket works really well, or like the top row where people say like job title. And then you could always have the front play on the back or vice versa. So front and back designs work really, really well for certain niches, like the Second Amendment niche work really well. So Second Amendment niche, if you're going to try that one out, front and back designs. I've never seen too many. I haven't seen too many designs that sell in the Second Amendment niche, thousands of shirts that aren't front and back. Insight Hero, any comments? I haven't played playing enough with it to speak one way or another. Looks like people are interested in me to learn more about Facebook ads. For you couple hundred people that are left, if that's something you guys want to learn, let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat box real quick, just so I can gauge on that. Okay, I'll reach out and see if I can't bring somebody on to help you guys out with that. I've been testing a few things, but like I said, I've been following the lead of a really big seller. So Johan asks, when would you relaunch a campaign? Almost immediately. When do you use retargeting to get people to do a new campaign? Almost immediately. If also on retargeting, if people bought your shirt, aren't you now retargeting them also? Yeah, you are. So what actually Will Riley, who's in the group, brought up a great point and a strategy around retargeting. You can do 2 retargeting groups if you're really worried about that. If you're going to have niches that are shirts that you're going to run for a very long time, have one retargeting audience based off of the people that have visited in the last 2 weeks or something like that, and then get one retargeting audience that's based off of people that have visited in the last 180 days. So you're going to have a huge audience and you're going to have a very small audience, and you're going to rotate the 2 weeks out very quickly, right? In relative terms. So those 2 weeks might be like the most recent people, and speak to those people differently than you would the 180 days. And that's, to be honest with you, if you're using a site that, they're not, as long as your expectations are right with your shirt, right? You're always going to have those people that are like, I ordered my shirt earlier this week. Where is it? So you're going to have those people that comment, but they don't understand that this is a crowd-funded platform, that you have a 10-day campaign, that once it closes, then it gets printed, and then it ships. And then it takes like 2 more weeks after that. So if some people don't understand that, just reply to them and answer them and say, hey, you campaign just closed out yesterday. We'll be printing and shipping here soon. And you're setting the expectations. You should be setting that in your ad, or I'm sorry, not in your ad, in your campaign description on the landing page, and then go from there. And just make sure that they understand. And Teespring and the sites do a good job of that, yes, but they sometimes actually still don't read that. The customer, for whatever reason, just doesn't read it, skips over it. And so you just got to set that expectation right. Um, we got a question on targeting a Bible verse. There's the bigger Bible verses are in here. So like Psalms 119, 146, 23, 90, or just Psalms in general. If you're targeting a Psalms quote, this might not be a bad place to start. Or the specific ones, but I know that the specific ones drop off pretty darn quickly. So like 119, see, went from 440,000 to 15. So that's how I would target it. Just be precise. Or John 3, 6, John 3:16. Boom, there you go. So Bible verses are in there. That's kind of an easy one. Have you ever put a design on the back and nothing on the front? Yes, it does kind of work. But I would, anything on the back, we try to do a front and a back. I think it'd be real weird personally to wear it would be personally weird for me to wear a shirt that didn't have a front but had a back. But it's some sell. William asks, have you had add-on sales? Buy a t-shirt and then a second offer pops up. Yeah, you need to be using the upsells and the cross-sells and all that different stuff. We will target retargeting in the next week's webinar, Sam. Can Albert produce a mind map showing the overview of how various pickles are used? Dean, yeah, but he goes through it in the video pretty well. It's not overly complicated, right? On Teespring, there's a section for your conversion pixel. There's a section for your retargeting pixel. You place them there. and you can do them at the account level. So they're, we're using the 1 pixel so that you can use them across everything, and that's where you want to go. Did you play with Audience Drill? Yeah, I did. Not enough. I know it's cool, and I did some custom searches. Actually, Sam is a friend, and we played around with it, and it's something cool, and we're continuing to play around with it and always testing it. The custom strings that you can pull out of there are pretty sweet. I think again it says at least the Bible is public domain. I don't know who would have a trademark on the Bible per se. I don't think you'd be fine there. God, yeah, I think God. I mean, that's a guy. That's a guy that you wouldn't want to mess around with his trademark. Good point. Uh, Somebody says depends on the version. King James is public domain. Yeah, again, look it up. If you got like one of those, I know some religions have their own specific Bible. You probably wouldn't want to mess with that one. Scientology probably has a trademark on whatever book they use. It's probably same with Mormons and possibly even Catholics. I don't know. I can't speak on the subject any more than that. Look it up. Must I have a Facebook page for every niche, or is it okay for I have a general tease Facebook page? You can do both, but similar to how we were helping that person out with 100,000 people on his page, having a niche page in a niche that you want to stay, we call it a core niche. We want to stay in there long term, and so we do niche pages for them to build up information, not only that we can plug back into the Audience Insight tool, see which interests are responding best over time, use it to find more interests, use it to find demographics, understanding. But you can also do that contest thing, like I was talking about, where you're posting which one of these do you like the best, and then you've used that and then give them that design and boost it to your page, or you post Pinterest content like we were showing you using this tool. And if you don't have this tool, guys, it's in you can click on it in your in members area and still sign up for it. Still available. I still recommend it because you can do this sort where you go ahead and find the best content and post that great content to your page. And guys, guess what? If your page responds well to it over time, like if you post 7 things, one each day, and the third one was the best out of the 7, that third one might be a great shirt for you to run, right? If you can spin it, make it look like a shirt, put it on there, people have already responded to it, and you know your page has. Boost it to your page, throw some money at it, and see what goes on. Um, Example of a upsell, cross sell. We'll cover that in the next webinar. If you want, go to Teespring's group and look at their their videos. They have videos on their platform. Audience, what? I'm not sure what that is, John. The devil. The devil has the copyright. How about targeting Islam? Pretty large religion. Yeah, same. I mean, Christianity is the same way, right, guys? Um, they're both very, very large. You want to go and uh, you want to go down and make sure that you're targeting very, very specifically to whatever and translating that message all the way through. It's the same thing. Although it's a large religion, it doesn't necessarily trump any other niche on Facebook. Arthur, you know what? It is a marathon. I'm trying to get you the most out of your. Arthur asked, guys, some kind of marathon today or what? I do 2 to 3 hour webinars, guys. I don't pussyfoot around it. So I'm trying to get you the most out of your money here. If you don't like it, you can always catch the recording. Oh, audience drill. John. It's a software that came out by Sam, and it's kind of like a string finder, and we're messing around with it. Drill, DRILL. All right, you can hear my voice waning. So I'm going to go into the draining. I'm going to go into the group, answer the questions that are there, and then I'll be it for the day. All right, guys. Hope that's cool with you. Give me a yes in the chat box if it is. And Marty, just put it on, put some headphones on, listen to it in the background, and do something else. Questions for the webinar. Here we go. Levin, I have many design idea by research, but I just have a small budget. Could you please show me how to optimize them? I don't know what you mean by optimizing them, but if you have a small budget and you have many designs, I would just start with one design and build your way up. And again, like we were saying earlier, if you have a small amount of money and you're not comfortable spending $20 per day, then go down to $5 per day and just do one interest at a time. What are the criteria? And then, I mean, guys, remember one of the big things in this course was that Albert went from like not spending relatively that much money to having to fund $130,000 in 62 days of spend. So that's taking a lot of money going out, coming back in, going out, coming back in, going out, coming back in. And you have a good way of doing that, and it's outlined in the course. So start small, scale your way up. Xavier says, what are the criteria you look for when hiring a research or for a designer idea or concept? Researcher, hiring a researcher for design concept. A researcher is not that difficult. A researcher is going to be somebody, you can get somebody that's probably experienced at this point, that's been around long enough. But you can also just give them the criteria of what you look for in a design. So if it's, I only want designs, or I only want shirt concepts that have 50 or plus more sales, that are currently active, that are scalable, that have skulls, whatever. You got to, you got to basically give them the concepts to work through, the criteria for you to follow, and just go off of your standards. Whatever standards you have, that's what they should be following. A researcher isn't all that difficult to hire. Don't forget to discuss the Papa shirt, the 46,000 sold. Yeah, we figured that one out, right? Will did a little digging on that one, and he found out that it's by Twitch, and they have a massive following. So I'm guessing that is their, basically they advertised it to their huge list with Father's Day in mind. So not as much of Facebook traffic as you would think. But again, a place to start would be the Teespring, the general interests that you can use that are still interests that give you targeted t-shirt buyers. But I wouldn't try to replicate the grand slam of that Papa shirt. That was just somebody with a massive following who's been in the game for a while, who's built up an email list, who's built up a lot of stuff, and gone from there. How to target Papa Mama shirt for broad interest. Again, I would start with niches and then target the dads of those niches or the moms of those niches. But we wouldn't want to get too hung up on trying to go super, super broad. A lot of the Papa shirts that I see that work have some kind of interest that is attached to it. The machinist one, the fix it, Grandpa fixes it. Those all have interests that you can go through. And you want to basically not focus on doing no interest targeting. That does work after you get to a certain point, and you have a very, very optimized conversion pixel. You can do no interest targeting. But when you're starting out, you can't go that broad without faltering quite a bit. PPE for the initial ad. And that's what this course is all about, guys. In t-shirt market in Facebook, saturated competition is getting higher and the audience is getting bored of it at the end. That is completely untrue. People have been saying that for 2 years now. So People have been buying T-shirts since the '80s. I don't think a bunch of Facebook marketers are going to ruin that. Any recommendation on the tools you're using in T-shirt journey? Thanks. Skype, Audience Insights, and Google Docs. Google Docs are key. Any recommendation? Wait, only did that. Looking for not so common phrase text for design. Pinterest. And if you wanted to, go to the less popular one, Google image search. But I would stick with the more common, more well known, more resonated with an audience, things that the audience has already proven to be fond of, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. If you recommend to use a Teespring store, how do you scale different designs in the same niche at one time? What commonly people do, and we've started to do as well, is build a store in the niche and link to it inside the design, inside the page. So you'll have your page and your text descriptions and say, looking for more nurse shirts, go to our store here. Inside that store is all your other nurse shirts plus your shirt that you're running traffic to currently. So they can go back to there if they want. When you did a nurse shirt, did you just target nurses only, or nurses who also like religious pages? The nurse prayer shirt, I banked off the fact that A, the prayer wasn't all that specific to a religion, and B, um, and B, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So it wasn't very specific to a religion, and B, Christians in the United States make up a large majority of the population. So if I was going to pertain on one religion, it probably would have been Christian. But I'm already targeting a huge portion of the audience is already Christian in my mind. So is the football niche still available to be done in Teespring nowadays? Since there are so many copywriters, are there any good ways to penetrate in the market again? Thanks. I wouldn't focus too much on this, man. What's the fascination with the football niche? There's so many other niches out there that you don't have to worry about copyright in order to sell. I know there was easy money in there when people were violating that, but if you're gonna do football, what's that?
Sorry for interrupting, but your audio is very bad there. Maybe it's your microphone or.
You know what? I think it's my around the 3 hour mark. It always does this. So you want to hammer through these real quick, and then we'll end the end of the day.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I can hear you clearly. The audio is very bad. Test.
Hey, actually, what I'll do here. You guys can hear me? Can you hear me?
I think it's still scratching there.
Oh man. Let me see if Any better?
Yeah, cool.
All right, cool. So this happens around the 3 hour mark for webinars. I've noticed. I don't know why. What happens? It's always 3 hours though it happens. So okay, I'm gonna go back and figure this out. So football niche, I would find something else to start on. If you really want to do football, something related, I would do football players, like people that actually play the sport of football in college or high school, or the moms of the people that play the sports. Can we talk about the testing method, specifically how to the successful ad after 4 days? We will talk about this more in, I don't know what I just did. I will talk about this more in the following webinar, which is on Wednesday, by the way. Do you let your ads run for runs at full ad spend during the night? I understand you don't want to turn the ads off. I've been keeping my ads at $1 and restart. No, keep them at full spend throughout the night. You're going to spend less money during the night naturally because there's less people on Facebook, but do not change it because you're optimizing at a certain. Not only the ad is optimizing at just general inside the audience, but it's also optimizing at the spend that you currently have it at. When you're messing with it like that, you're making it optimized all over the place and it's never going to get to full steam. I couldn't make it to the webinar, and what ideas were discussed about the Papa shirt? Again, Twitch is a company with a massive following who sold a lot of T-shirts, specifically on Teespring, and we're guessing that they mailed out their dads, and that was what they were doing. That's what Will Riley was saying. I've dug around with it, and the people that I found that have sold via Facebook traffic did not have the same amount of sales that obviously those guys did. So I think it's maybe advertising on their website and also in their email list. We'll love to get some insights on using contests for virality, trying to today, but only it's promoting this post. Ken, I'm not going to talk about this right now because we're still focused on the course. We might do some more webinars down the road where we can talk about things that are outside the course. QQQ, if you're having trouble with a high CTR, I'm sorry, you're having a high CTR and a low cost during the PP and first interest, you run the same ad with the same demographics and a different campaign as a website conversion. Yeah, you can. The thing with website conversion, though, guys, is you're going to want lots and lots and lots of conversions before you start doing that. But if you know you have a winning demographic, and I wouldn't take this right here as the winning demographic. I would take that for if you're trying to translate over to a website conversion, the most important thing is who is buying. So you're doing your test, you would do the winning demographic or the same demographics as the people who are buying within that interest. Because like we talked about, engagement does not necessarily mean buying, right? How often do your designers produce more complex versus simple text, this being complex? I don't have a specific rhyme or reason. We see things that we want to model after, or we see things that we want to test off of Pinterest or something like that, and then we go for it. If the design calls for it, or if the quote calls for it, or if the saying calls for it, then we use a front and back, more complex design. Also, something I have done before is run a simple image into the ground as much as I can, as far as making sure that I'm using as much as possible. I've sold as many as possible, and if it's a big winner, then I'll recreate it in a more complex way and then sell back to the same audience, and it works very, very well. Let me refresh this to make sure I didn't miss anybody, and I didn't. All right, guys, 3 hours. That's it. Is that pretty good for you guys? Do you like that? It's incredibly taxing on my voice to do that. I hope you guys know that. I'm probably not going to talk for the rest of the day. My wife loves that, though, me not talking. Just kidding. All right, cool. Any final thoughts here, Albert? Anything you want to cover that we haven't had before we do the giveaway?
Yeah, I think I've covered it very well. I think it's cool.
All right, cool. Well, guys, if you have any questions, let's post it back in the group. We're done with questions from here. Now I'm going to do a random selection and make sure that we do our little giveaway here. So let's do this. Somebody call out a number 1 through 20. 15 is one I saw. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, Dave Ledage. Hope I said that right. Dave, do you have, did I say that right? Sweet. Dave, hit me up in a private message on Facebook with your PayPal, and I'll send that over, man. Awesome, guys. All right, thank you guys so much for sticking with us for 3 hours. A lot of you did well. You got lots of questions. I loved it. I hope this was very, very helpful for you. Hope you're understanding more about the course. Maybe there's some other golden nuggets along the way that you were able to pick up. And we're just trying to do as much as we can to make sure you're getting the most out of this, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and start cranking this thing. And the replay will probably take 40 minutes or so to get up. And then I'll put a link in the group or just a message in the group saying, hey, replay's up. So look for that. I might send an email out as well just to hit everybody I can. And then we'll go from there, guys. And we'll see you on Wednesday, the same time. And we'll go there. All right, guys? Hope you had a lot of fun today. Give me a big 1 in the chat box if you did. And hope you like it because we're going to do it twice more. Awesome. All right, guys. So on my notes, good Schmidt, right. On my notes of things to do, I'm going to reach out to a buddy of mine about the video ads, see if I can't get them on air at a later point, since that's something that you guys have been kind of asking for. On your end, I want you to get through the freaking videos. All right, get through as much as you can. For all you twos and they're in the initial videos, let's go